Greetings and welcome to Circle of Sisters Table Talks, the spiritual podcast, the virtual space of self care and self care principles. Today, I, Sherry Unk, am here with my sister.
Chantel Kim, your holistic health self-care coach. We are here
And
today to talk about nurturing the divine feminine and my go-to all the time, self-care. So, this this podcast today is going to really give you some insights on just the way that we show up to take care of ourselves. I know most of us are familiar with the general things that we do to pamper our bodies, and we call that self-care. But there are also other ways that we can show up for ourselves and care for ourselves that we may not often think about or do.
Absolutely. When we talk about nurturing the divine feminine, we can't go into nurturing the divine feminine without talking about some of the ways that the divine feminine has really struggled over the course of the years, over society. We know that many women in general, not just speaking for melanated women, but many women have had to go out into the world, have had to take on very masculine tasks in their everyday life or in their workspace. They're residing very heavily into the masculine energy, that workhorse energy, that busy energy, that linear energy. However, as women, we are emotional, ethereal beings. And so we have to nurture that feminine, that divine feminine aspects of ourselves so that we can find balance and we don't come off too strong or too hard. Many of us in our childhood may have experienced things that sort of hardened us up. We may have experienced people talking about how we look visually. For many young girls growing up, there's a complete emphasis on how you look. So they may talk about your hair, your skin complexion, your body size, and those things that we hear as children begin to reside within us, and we start to develop an unhealthy expectation of how we show up as women. And because of that, it tends to harm our divine feminine energy.
Yes. So when we think about the masculine, okay, you did mention how a lot of women are now functioning and moving in that divine masculine, right? And a lot of times when it's talked about in a negative context. So when we think about masculine energy, at the core of it all, it is the logic. It is the logic. It's the analytical way of processing life. So a lot of times the masculine is not a negative, right? It's not in at all that we shouldn't show up in our masculine. But what comes out is the over masculinity and not being able to embrace the femininity that is our side of ourselves, which is nurturing, which shows a lot more compassion as opposed to an empathy and caring or kindness in a sense. We have to balance those in our own bodies and in our own thoughts. So when we come through as this masculine woman, it may look like us taking more um visual approaches to how we look, because that's really where most people are saying, okay, if you look like a woman, you're going to be more of a woman, right? Because that logically makes sense, right? But
Mhm.
then we bring it back full circle to how do us as women expect men to show up? So we expect them to show up in one capacity, and that is to bring forth the safety, to bring forth the security, to bring forth the protection. So we as women begin to overextend in those areas to make sure that we're safe, to make sure that we're provided for, and to make sure that we actually are protected in showing up as who we are. So sometimes it does look like, you know the Lord sees us as women, but they also, as we also how we show up as women. And in that space, we're showing up more so in that space of being that provider, that protector of our homes, especially like you mentioned in our society, where a lot of times we do not have the divine masculine supporting us and being right there with us to navigate those other areas. So being able to begin to differentiate how we can take care of ourselves and still maintain how we do it. So thinking of that, what areas or what things can we do to you can't hear me? You muted on your side.
Can you unmute?
I hear you.
You can hear me?
Yes,
I don't know why I can't hear anything. This is
you
crazy.
can't hear me.
Mm-mm. I'm reading your lips.
Oh Lord. Look at something. I can hear you fine. So something show up on the screen
Go
that
ahead. I'm gonna
says
try to fix it on my end.
that you muted. Yeah. Okay. So when we think about mute, when we think about muting ourselves, Lord Jesus. Okay. Let me see. Unmute. Let's see. So okay. Can you hear me now?
I don't think it's you. I got something that came through and it turned my sound off, so I just gotta see. Might be something in the background.
Okay, so I'll just keep going. So while my co-host works on getting herself unmuted. So as we take time to just take care of ourselves, we have to really begin to think about really how we show up, not even taking it to the extreme of being in the divine masculine or being overly masculine, but just doing the things that we know we need to do to allow the balance between our masculinity and our femininity, that because they're both necessary and they're both found in both male and female. So us as women, as you had spoke about, it's our society has put us in a space to be more logical, to be
Hmm.
more analytical, to be more focused on our own safety and security. And in that, it sometimes allows men, because they're the main ones who say, we're operating in our masculinity.
Hmm.
Those men who have not been really strengthened in their masculinity may find us overly masculine because we're showing them the areas that they may be weak in. But it doesn't take away from their ability to show up, you know? And we as women, as a part of our own self care, can begin to give those opportunities back to these men, right? Give them the opportunity to show up. And in some cases, that means making ourselves feel a little unsafe, you know, but it's also about doing the things within limits that allows you to still be cared for without jeopardizing your safety. And really, when we think about it, we're not unsafe, it's just a mind space of being unsafe, so we function out of that space. So in our program, we talk about how we can begin to integrate our femininity with the masculinity that we have so been instilled to radiate, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And within this particular principle, nurturing the divine feminine, it's really in regards to how we choose to um, love on ourselves, how we tend to choose to show love and to nurture our own emotions. A lot of times I notice, and I notice this with myself as women, we are looking to our significant other, our partner, to nurture certain aspects of ourselves, but that really begins with us. And so when we get into nurturing the divine feminine, what does that actually look like in practice? That looks like doing your self-care regimen. We talk about everything with intention, but really catering and pampering yourself, taking quality time out to say, you know what, tonight I'm going to draw me a bath. I'm going to use my Epsom salt. I'm going to go ahead and put some essential oils, light some candles around it, and I'm going to sit in here and allow myself to release and to process whatever emotions. I'm going to sit and polish my own nails. I'm going to, do certain things. I'm going to go play outside, right? That nurtures our divine feminine energy because it allows that inner child within us to play and to feel free. I'm going to do something I haven't did in years. I used to love, riding my bike down the street. So I'm going to ride my bike. When we nurture our divine feminine energy, we are actually tapping into that emotion, that nurturing side of ourselves. We are I don't want to say pulling away from the logic, but we are balancing out that logic. When you start to operate on too much logic, you begin to seem robotic. You have to bring, the spirit, the emotional aspect of it. And so nurturing the divine feminine is really our way of finding that divine balance between the masculine energy that we reside in, because we do live in a masculine and linear society where we have to do things a certain way, but also taking that time out, that critical time to nurture the feminine aspects of our being so that we can really begin to live, somewhat of a soft life. I know many women, that's the popular term out nowadays. I want to live soft. I want to to live a soft life. And we think that there's some masculine energy that's going to come in, that's going to be so strong that's going to just allow us to lean into that softness. And for some women, that is the case. But for many of us who have had generations of very strong, very high masculine energy of women, it may take us to start doing some of that work ourselves, to nurture that feminine energy so we could even recognize when the divine masculine comes through and is allowing us to live in that soft nature.
Yes, you spoke about our emotions, right? Our energy in motion. So energy in motion is really how I hear some kickback. Energy in motion allows us to energy in motion allows us to begin to process, what does it feel like to live that soft life? What does it feel like to um be vulnerable, right? To be vulnerable, and then also to support our own self in that vulnerability, like you said, not looking outside of us for a masculine person to come in and allow us to be able to process our emotions, or even to know what it is to feel cared for. It starts with us. It starts for us to first understand how we want to be cared for, and then beginning to care for ourselves in that way, so that when the divine masculine comes in, he already sees how you care for yourself, how you do things for yourself, and he is able to complement that in the things that he continues to do for you and with you to support you living that truly soft life. So it's not really always a process of eliminating one to embrace the other, but it's a balance on both parts. Even if you have that divine masculine in your life, how is he able to balance his feminine energy, right? How is he really able to tap into his emotions so that he can be in a vulnerable space where you can feel supported as well?
I love that you said for those of us who have partners, tapping into that divine balance within our partners, because it's really important, when you have two very masculine energies coming together, they can sometimes butt head, and two feminine energies coming together can sometimes be emotionally overwhelming. And so we need that balance within each and every being. We all carry masculine and feminine energy, and that's really important for everyone to know. Just because you're a woman or you're born physically female does not mean that you only have feminine energy. Same goes for men. We all carry both of the energies, and when we find that harmony of balance within ourselves, that spills over into our relationships and makes for more of a better compatibility. I do want to touch on one of the things with sacred beauty when we talk about sacred woman, and this that goes hand in hand with nurturing the divine feminine, is really embracing your natural being, how you are, right? A lot of times as women, we add things on. Listen, I used to wear my 24-inch weaves, bust down. I think that's what they call it now. Bust down. I never did the lace fronts because that wasn't out then, but I would wear I would wear my I would wear my hair and I would wear all of my makeup and I felt great. But it wasn't until I started to embrace some of the natural aspects of my being that it really took my confidence to a next level. And so that is some of what we go into within the program, is embracing those natural aspects of yourself, because yes, just like we have tools that we can use to heal our body, we have tools that we can use to glamorize our ourselves as well. But when all of that is stripped away, when all of that is gone, we have to be happy, content, and feel whole in our own individual self as we are,
In that
um,
natural space of beauty, right?
in the
Because we
natural
are
space of beauty.
beautiful, beautiful. And then it goes back to deeper to your soul level. You are the diamond, you are the star, you are all that you desire that you are. And you can continue to fortify yourself by taking care of yourself. Like being aware of your emotions, being aware of why you glamorize yourself, right? Is it glamorizing yourself to cover up the hurt, the pain, the lack, the worry? Or is it glorifying yourself or glamorizing yourself to also amplify that inner beauty of joy, that inner beauty of peace, that inner beauty of just beauty in itself? We look at things and we see them as beautiful. We look outside and we can see the beauty of creation, right? We love to see flowers and trees and things that bring life, right? And we see those things as beautiful just the way they are, right? So when we begin to see our reflection in nature, meaning that we show up in our fullness, we show up just as we are, and we begin to work with how that makes us feel, right? And that's what this the program is about, showing up as your truth, and then looking at the parts that you feel are ugly as well, and then loving on those parts because it's part of you, and you have been given a body to come into, to have this life experience with everything that you need, with everything, the big hips, the big butt, the little hips, the big titties, the little titties, the big nose, the little nose, the big lips, the little lips. It's all beautiful, and it's specific to you. So being able to care for yourself and love yourself just as you are, and then beautify it however you see fit that resonates or helps you to begin to see that space or that part of you as beautiful too. We talked yesterday about the shadow parts of us, right? and the parts of us that we may not find so beautiful. And in doing the work, this is the part of doing the work, we begin to see how those even ugly things support us in showing up the best way that we are supposed to.
Absolutely. And I was speaking earlier in regards to some of the things that we're told as children really either reaffirms or diminishes how we feel about ourselves. And so within this particular area, we really go back and we talk to that inner child, and we really nurture her into a space where she feels comfortable in her own being. I want to give you guys a story as to why I went natural and I decided to join my start my lock journey. When I was pregnant with my now 10-year-old, um, I was at my mom's house. My mom does hair. She's done hair my entire life. And one of my younger cousins was there. She was 5 at the time, and she had her hoodie on, and it was like drawn all around to where you couldn't see anything. She was 5 years old, and I said, why you got the hoodie on in the house? And she was like, cause my hair ain't done. Now this is a 5-year old, and at the time I was pregnant, and you're pregnant, you're emotional, and you probably overthink things. And when I heard her say that, it really broke my heart, because at 5 years old, I don't know that I was that conscious to be like, let me put the hoodie on and tie it up so close around my neck to where nobody see that I got like a little fro under there. And those are the things that we don't understand how much they impact us until we get older, and we're still that same little girl who won't walk out the house unless her hair is in perfect place. And that sparked me to really take my natural hair to the next level, because I grew up in a family where beauty is everywhere. I mean, almost all of us know how to do hair. We all take very good pride in how we dress, how we show up. And I just didn't want my daughter to have that pressure. And so I started my lock journey. And it has been an amazing journey, because what I've noticed that locks do, but they are what they are. That is what it is today. And you have to really embrace yourself and your own inner divinity when you transition to a natural hairstyle. Not that that's what we pushing. We're not pushing that. But just letting you know that when you start to love you just the way you are without the bells and whistles, it opens up another level of energy that many of us are not accustomed to. It opens up another level of confidence that many of us are not accustomed to. And when you start to heal that inner child, you let her roam free, you start to embrace a aspect of yourself that you probably didn't even know existed.
Yes, you hit on the confidence, right? So how many of us are very confident to just show up in the world straight out of bed, washed face, feeling clean, fresh out the shower, and just go? How many of us are really confident enough to do that? And then it's something to think about, and this goes back to the child and the in the shadow of why wouldn't you feel confident, right?
Right.
So that's an area that you can begin to work on. How can I care for myself to see my confidence outside of however I look walking out the house? Yes, we want to come out of the house looking put together. We want to come out of the house feeling put together. But at the core of it, is it just a mask? Is it a mask that you're putting on? Is it a mask of confidence that you're coming out of the house with? Or is it truly who you are? So we're talking about speaking out and going deep, going into those ways we show up in the world. And how we show up is really stemmed from our programming as a child. So as a child, where I'm kind of connecting the dots with, as a child, someone else is really the one who's nurturing us and caring for us and doing the things to make us feel safe and provided for. But as an adult, sometimes the way that we begin to show up and care for ourselves is distorted by how our parents said we should show up, or how our spouses have been attracted to us in a space of how we showed up. But at some point, it may begin to feel uncomfortable, even though you looking like that chick, right? You coming out looking like that chick, but in the heart of hearts, where is that chick? Is she still just a little girl covering up the hurt, covering up the pain, covering up the the lack, or the lack of feeling beautiful? So she's doing these things to put a shield, in a sense. I don't want people to see me. I don't want people to see the real me. So I'm going to come up in my alter ego. I'm going to come out as my alter ego. I'm the diva, I'm the shit, and nobody can tell me nothing. But in the same sense, it's not about who's telling you something, it's what you're telling yourself. So that goes back to that self confidence found in, I know I'm the shit. Even if my hair is all over the place, I'm still the shit. Even if I got on the raggedy ass clothes, I'm still the shit. Today is just the day I wasn't feeling like coming out looking like that, but I still know I'm that, right? So we are really, really, really wanting to help women to begin to show up in ways that feel good, right? That really truly feel good to you at the core, at the soul level. And being able to do that, it takes setting with the ways that you don't feel that you're the shit, in the ways that you really talk to yourself, in talking to yourself in ways that is like, girl, you need to get it together, but in a way that, okay, I got to get it together. What does that look like? Is it not only in looking the part, but truly feeling the part? And that's where our masculinity can take a seat, and our emotional feminine self can begin to rise above those other outward things that we do to make ourselves feel good with, or to make other people think that we feel good or that we look good. And in fact, we don't even see that or feel that in ourselves. So this is a work. And yeah, glamorizing yourself, getting up, putting on the makeup, taking those really good baths, making yourself smell good, making yourself look good. Sometimes they say fake it till you make it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is a truth, right? But are you really doing the work underneath it? Or are you just daily putting on putting on those things that make people give the outward appearance, but in the heart of it, you're not there yet. So we want to help you come to bringing that integration of both, and looking the part and also feeling the part, because it is something that takes effort and it takes practice, and it does take doing it, and sometimes we don't even know where to start. So our program is definitely a place where you can start to remove the masks, remove the ideas of ugliness from ourselves and from our souls, and allow our souls to begin to show us what our true beauty is, and how that can be resonated in our being in spite of how we truly look or how we present ourselves.
Absolutely. And within the 12 weeks for this particular principle, you have 7 days. We give you some information as to some tips that you can do in order to create more of a holistic, natural beauty routine, just so that you can, even if you are a person who wears the makeup and the additional things, because I love makeup myself, but we have to care for our skin underneath there. So we want to nurture and just give life and nourish our skin, nourish our bodies, nourish our mind and our soul. And hopefully, through some of the practices that we'll be teaching you, you'll embrace some of the more natural, holistic um, energies. What we take for granted is a lot of these things that we put onto our skin, that we put onto our bodies, are coming from various parts of the world. They may be triggering us in certain ways that we're not even aware of. Some of the products have been known to cause people to break out and things like that. So this is the part where we really talk about how you can naturally do a beauty routine, how you can naturally start to embrace yourself and your inner beauty. Um, and how you can embrace that feminine energy that walks with you everywhere. How you can embrace her and show up as your divine feminine self, unrestricted, unbound, unapologetic, and in your own essence. And so we really deep dive into that within the 12-week program. If you are a beauty enthusiast, you'll absolutely love this portion because we talk about some of the natural things that you can do in order to heal your skin, or in order to make beauty products. If you are interested in making beauty products, we talk a little bit about that, the herbs and stuff that you can use for that. But this is really a section where we really dig deep into the confidence and really um, you know, killing the myths that we've been told over the years, so that we can really get to the core of who we are and our sacred being. And so we really attacked all the naysayers within this particular principle. Anyone who's told you anything harmful that has killed your confidence, that has killed your self esteem, we combat all of that within this particular principle. And so you get not only the support, but you actually get to release those things that you heard as a child growing up that may have made you look at yourself in not so much of the great light, or have insecurities about who you are and how you show up. And so we really attack those insecurities, so that we can really teach you how to nurture yourself and nurture the divine feminine energy within you. I look forward to seeing you all in the cohort. I look forward to experiencing a new level of transition. This work is a work that every single time you decide to visit these principles, every single time you decide to intentionally do this work, you get another level of clarity. You get another level of energy, or inspiration. And so, no matter where you are on your journey, you may feel that you've done some of this work. You can always do it. The healing journey is definitely, as our ancestor Nip would say, it's a marathon. Okay, it's not a sprint. It's a marathon, so it goes on and it goes on and it goes on. And so, for those of you who are joining us in the program, I'm super excited, especially for those of you who will be joining us at the retreat, because that's where we actually get to physically share energy, and embrace all of these different principles that we have been learning over the 12 weeks. And so tap in, y'all. It's time to tap in.
Tap in, tap in. When I think of self-care and nurturing my divine feminine, I have I have constantly built on the journaling aspect, right? To journal and get my emotions out, right? Get my energy out of my body, especially in areas where I find myself struggling, right? Whether it is in being able to show up feeling my best, or being able to show up in looking my best, or if I'm having the issues, most times it's about my weight, because in my mind I feel like I should be at a different weight, right? And no matter what I do, it seems to be an issue for me. So I've been really diving into what is causing me to have this idea of holding things, because
Mm.
that's what weight is. What am I holding and what am I not releasing? And being really mindful about journaling those things when they come up. You know, that is another great way to take care of yourself, because you're putting it out into the atmosphere. And then what I do is I journal what I'm feeling, and then I create a positive affirmation that supports where I want to see myself. So I meditate. I see myself, what they call daydreaming, or just visualizing myself at my healthiest weight, myself looking my most vibrant, like my most vibrant self. And then acknowledging that this is truly who I am, outside of all that other stuff that I can do on the outward to look like I'm good. We got waist trainers, we got squeeze me's, that's what I call them, squeeze me's, waist trainers, uh, whatever I can do to my body to make me look like I am looking the part of being healthy and at my divine weight. But outside, when I take it off and my fupa comes out, it's like, okay, I love you too. I love you too. And I'm so thankful that I get an opportunity to see my body in this space and know that it doesn't make me or break me, right? It doesn't. I
Absolutely.
am still a beautiful person in spite of the things that I find that are not so beautiful. So being able to tap into loving yourself no matter what, is really what this work is about. And then really understanding, how do I love myself? And really beginning to think about the ways you show up to love yourself, and really beginning to put more love, more light into just being who you are, and not looking at it as, okay, I'm doing this for someone else, because I'm doing this so that I can be more attractive, or I'm doing this because I'm trying to find me a husband, or I'm doing this so I can stand out and I at least look better than her, in a comparison way. No, no. It all comes back to each one of us is divine. I saw in one of these groups that I was in a comparison of beauty, right? And what is the divine feminine? And what does a beautiful woman look like? We all know that that is a perception of beauty, right? So they had a woman who was very natural hair. She had hair under her arms. She even had hair growing down her face. And she was very slender. And she had her hands up like this. And they had, okay, this is one woman. And then they had another woman where, it's more like what we see our Black women doing these days, with the weave, the lace front, the makeup to the nines. They were different sizes and different complexions, but they really had more of I would say, a European idea or look of beauty, outside of them being melanated women. And I read a few of the comments, but it did begin to make me uncomfortable, because it was saying that the energy behind the woman who had more of she had a big afro, she had hair, that's beautiful too. She's a woman. And if that's how she wants to show herself and she feels confident and beautiful in that, who cares what I think, right? And then the other women looking how they were looking, if they feel beautiful that way, who cares what I think, right? So it's really about us showing up. But in the comments, they were saying the one who was hairy was more masculine. And I'm like, I don't really connect that to masculinity, right? Because I know I just don't compare that to masculinity. And I don't compare just because you have makeup to the nines and long hair as femininity. So we have this idea of what we believe beauty to be, and we have the societal way of what they believe beauty to be. But ultimately, it's the beauty that you find that is good, and that's what it is. And we have to begin to come back into our own being to know that we have a versatile, as Black people, we have versatility in how we show up. White people have versatility too, but not as much, because they don't tap into it, right? They don't tap into doing things differently with their hair, or doing things differently with their makeup. A lot of them, makeup is a norm for them, right? because they want their skin to look a different way. But for melanated people, makeup can make or break us, if you want to say that. But I think it's still a choice. It's a
Mhm.
choice of what you feel.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that you touched on the woman with the fro who had the hair on different parts of her body. I remember when I was 14, my mother used to say, "Don't shave your legs, don't shave." She would tell me not to shave because if you shave, it's going to come back thicker. So she would tell us not to shave. Don't shave your legs, don't shave under your arms, don't shave your hoo ha, because if you shave, it's gonna come back thicker. Well, everybody was shaving and waxing and nairing and all the things, so of course I shaved. It wasn't until in an adult life that I understood why my mother, my grandmother, and everyone has said don't that we're not supposed to shave. Is because health wise, that hair is there for a reason. And I think the miseducation or the lack of the education as to body hair and why we have it is why there is the misnomer of it being more masculine when a woman has hair under her arms. It's not attractive, or you know what I'm saying. It's not ladylike or sexy or feminine if she has that additional hair, when there is a scientific health reason for us to have that. And a lot of us aren't educated in that way. And so that's some of what we talk about too, the educational aspect of some of the things that we do. Look, I wore a perm all throughout my childhood, pretty much up until adult. I didn't even know what the real texture of my hair was, because I had had perms all throughout my life because my hair is super thick and it was easier for my mom to manage it. And now, today, we're hearing about women suffering from brain cancers and all kind of things as a result of those perms that we were wearing for those first 20 plus years of our lives. And so when we talk about beauty and how sacred it is, we have to understand that there are forces out there that understand how much and how important our beauty regimen is to us. And excuse me, and they use different tactics in order to, make us weaken our hair, in order to weaken our bodies, because they know that this has been a spiritual practice for us. And that's the part that I want everyone to understand. Our beauty regimen is very spiritual. It's a spiritual aspect of our being. When we were, in ancient Kemet, you couldn't go before the gods. You couldn't go before royalty unless you were bathed and you had your anointed with oils. And so when we think about our beauty practices, we see how versatile we are. It's because it's not just a physical aspect for us; it is deeply spiritual, and that's one of the things that we really deep dive into and talk about. So that when you understand that the way you show up, the way you care for yourself, it's more than just the physical. It is a spiritual aspect of how you are honoring yourself as the divine, sacred being you are.
Yes, and it's so beautiful when you begin to kind of step back from the doing again in that masculine energy of feeling like I have to do this, and really even to change the mindset of I get to do it, right? I get to do it this way, and really empower yourself to know that doing it your way is the only way that matters. Getting back to your soul's sovereignty of knowing that I can show up in my divine essence without it being hard work, right? Or being without it being a chore, without it being something that takes me out of my ease and out of my flow of just being able to know that I'm beautiful and I have been created in this body beautifully, fearfully, and wonderfully made, right? And understanding too that what's within us is truly how it's going to reflect out of us. So if we got a lot of anger, we got a lot of rage, we got a lot of um judgment in us, it's going to show in our skin. It's going to come through in some way. And we have to begin to say, okay, I don't want that to show. So, how do I deal with it? How do I really become one with it in a way that supports me in a positive way and not a negative? I mean, it's just really, really getting to the core of who you are. And that's what this work is all about. When we say the work, it's really about taking back the layers and seeing what really is fueling my existence. Am I being fueled by things outside of me that impress on me that I have to do it? Or am I being um what is the word I'm looking for? If I'm doing things out of what's within me? It's like
Out of alignment.
we want things to be in alignment with the truth of who we are. And it's about getting back to this crown, right? Getting back to what you really believe in your mind space, what you truly believe in your heart space. And if it's not pretty, why do you not see it pretty? Why do you not see it beautiful? Where is your feminine energy in the way that you show up? Is it hiding under the bed with a girl who was maybe molested? Is it hiding in the closet from the things that go bump in the night, that you're afraid of? Is it being hidden behind your relationship in wanting to attract a certain type of man, thinking that that is what's going to validate you as beautiful? We go into these things. We go into these things, and what we want you to take away from it is knowing that your feminine essence is in fact who you are. You may be suppressing it in a way that you come forth more masculine in the way that you show up to men or to even yourself. And it's like I got to a point where I'm like, I'm tired of this. I don't want to do this no more. And surrendering to just the way it is. This look, it's like that, and that's the way it is.
And that's the way it
So
is.
it's like, okay, that's a good feeling for me. That's a very, very good feeling for me. But underneath that, what it is what I need to work with. So balancing our feminine energy through play, through being true to ourselves, digging up the dirt and the ugliness, seeing it for what it is, rewriting the stories that we've told ourselves based on the stories that have been told to us about us, and really navigating it in a way that allows us to show our brightest light, no matter what our face looks like. I'm inspired also by just there's this one man, and I saw a lady just the other day. They didn't have no arms, didn't have no legs, but was full of love and full of light and beautiful. And it's like, oh, this person has so many things to limit them, right? But they've also found that light within them that is brighter than missing legs and missing arms. And you wouldn't even see it. You wouldn't even notice it because they are shining so bright. But you see it, but it's like, how does this person show up in all of this positivity and they don't even have legs and arms? It's like because they see their beauty.
Absolutely.
They
And
see their beauty.
they know their confidence and um they're confident with themselves and they know who they are and they're not living in fear. And that is where we want to take you. That's where we want to help guide you through that murky waters of some of the childhood trauma that you may have experienced that may have dwindled down your self esteem. Excuse me. We want to make sure that we're nurturing the best parts of you and that we're inviting you to see yourself in a different light, to be able to embrace those aspects of yourself that you may have thought were unworthy of your embrace. That is what this work is for. And so for those of you who are interested, y'all know how to find us, y'all know where to find us. We thank you all for tuning in and tapping in. um I don't know, this is the Circle of Sisters table talk, and this is where we really speak out while fixing each other's crown in the process.
Give thanks, give thanks. I did not pull, but I'm going to pull for us
I say.
and see what our ancestors would have to add to our conversation.
Yes.
Again, we're using The Secrets of the Ancestors, Booyah, by Abiola Abrams, a beautiful soul who has taken time to tap into our ancestral energy to give us some messages from Most High, God Source Energy. I am asking for 2 cards, and 2 cards just came through. Oh, well, more than 2. We're going to take the first 2. Booyah. As we look at it, we have clarity, number 32, and we have the altar of fire. We had that once in the first draw. So we're going to read what the book says about those two cards, the altar of air, clarity. And look at that. She is a queen with the sword, balancing the light and the darkness. That's beautiful. And then the altar of fire. So look at them side by side. Booyah. All right. So number 32. Number 32. Again, that's my life path number. Give thanks for that. A 5, 3 and 2 makes 5. It's the I see clearly now. That is our declaration. And the ancestral medicine for this is sacred items represent the wind element. Representing the wind element can include bells, feathers, incense, knives or swords, fans, streamers, strings, or wood instruments, wind chimes, diffusers, and images of the sky, heaven, angels, and fairies. So all will be revealed. Are you watching and listening? Suddenly, it all makes sense. It is also a season to speak your naked truth, even if your voice shakes. Your own personal sword of truth can cut through all the BS. This ancestor comes through in times of breakthrough and fresh starts. This is a paradigm shift. She pushes you towards your Ashe, life force energy. If you haven't already experienced at least one classic light bulb moment, you are about to. The element of air is an anigilous, I don't even know that word. Oh, is an analogy, to breath and life force. This ancestor comes forward with the energy of the legendary, supernatural, fairy-like being that controls the wind. A sudden gust is called, I don't know that word. Well, either way, certain bursts. Things are coming through, changing our narratives and allowing ourselves to come through, to do the things we need to do to embrace our beauty. All right, next number 22. 22 is the altar of fire. Good juju. Be inspired. There is something in the air, and it is your success. Great things are happening. Open yourself to opportunities and unexpected choices. Claim your moment, beautiful. Embrace the rebirth in love, health, money, and happiness. This is not the time to tiptoe. Be big, be bold. You are manifesting wonderful outcomes, but you must take creative action to let it in. Be ready to expand and evolve. This is what you've been looking for. It is time to be successful. So, as we find ourselves in this space of being successful in showing up in our self care practices, showing up by speaking our truth, showing up by putting on the bells and whistles, if that's what you want to call it, to be who you are truly in the heart of you, continue to show up in the way that best empowers you to embrace your divine feminine energy, nurturing yourself, loving on yourself, and accepting yourself just the way it is, because this is what this work is about. Not about what other people think of you. It's truly about what you think of yourself. So until next time, we are the Soul Sisters speaking out and fixing crowns in the process. I hope this information came to you in high vibrations and that it did spark something in you to begin to change and live this successful life, embracing the divine feminine of I am. Until next time, peace and love.